have an area for our Eternal Patrol, so what we're going to do is, will all Holland Club members, if they're able to, please stand. Myself also included. And so we are honoring you, okay? Now, everybody else, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Jeff, would you like to lead us?
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Myra?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just come before you with grateful hearts for the ability to be together and to kind of just enjoy fellowship with one another. We just ask that you would be with those that aren't here and those that are sick. We just ask that you would surround them, Lord, with your healing presence and give them strength and endurance to get strong. For those of all that are sick in our group, we thank you for the many years of service represented in this room, and we thank you for their willingness to serve their country when it needed. We ask our blessing on this meeting. We just ask for your guidance with our discussions, and just allow us to have a fruitful meeting. Amen.
USSVI Creed. To perpetuate the memory of our shipmates who gave their lives in the pursuit of their duties while serving their country. That their dedication, deeds, and supreme sacrifice be a constant source of motivation towards greater accomplishments. We pledge loyalty and patriotism to the United States of America and its Constitution. Please remain standing for tolling of the boats. USS Grunion, SS-216, lost on 30 July 1942 off Orkiska Island, Aleutians, to unknown causes. 70 men lost. USS S-28, SS-33, lost on 4 July 1944 when she floundered off the Hawaiian Islands. 49 men lost. USS Robalo, SS-273, lost on 26 July 1944 by possible Japanese mine off Palawanan. 4 men survived as POWs, but they were never recovered. 77 men lost. In keeping with the USSVI Creed, let us remain in a mood of reverence and respect while we take a moment to remember those submariners who have received their final orders and are serving on Eternal Patrol. The Rocky Mountain Base Eternal Patrol list for July: Boyce O'Brien, 7/17/2004. Garland Wayne Garrett, 7/24/2021. Gerald Kreutzer, 7/14/2023. Please be seated. Let's dive the boat. For submariners, the submerged submarine provides a quiet and somewhat tranquil setting free of many of the distractions present in everyday surface world. So in keeping with that, we'll take her down for our regular meeting. Clear the bridge. Take her down. Dive. Dive. You made it through it just fine. Okay, so all we're going to do now is going to be swearing in of the officers. So if I can get Dale, Grant, Dan, and myself up front here, and Gene will be swearing us in.
Sure can.
It'll be like.
I am very honored to do this. It's about the most motley crew we've ever had,
It is.
led by a motley leader. Repeat after me. I,
I,
Paul Lee.
Bill Grant,
your name,
your name.
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute
I solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute
the office to which I have been elected,
the office to which I have been elected.
and I will do the best of my ability,
To the best of my ability.
preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution
of the United States and serve the best interests of our nation.
of the United States. Serve the best interests of our nation.
The United States Submarine Veterans Incorporated
United States Submarine Veterans Incorporated.
and the United States Submarine Force.
And the United States Submarine Force.
Okay, we're going to hold you to it.
All right. Thank you. Repeat after me. One more. Good. All right. Thanks. All right.
Wait a minute, one more, sorry.
There's always one. Thank you. That's for the
wide angle lens too.
Can you just set that over there somewhere?
Okay, so now we got the swearing in stuff. Let's go ahead and go to our speaker. And the speaker is Jack Hunter, over there in the corner, retired Coast Guard Master Chief. He will be talking about the near loss of the Coast Guard cutter Jarvis and its crew. And he was on board during this, and I've listened to his talk once, and it's pretty impressive. But I do want to let everybody know that we have a speaker set up for next August. Next month. And it will be Henry Jones. He's the major coordinator for the honor flights that go to D.C. And if you're interested, Dale has already been selected. And did Dale Jr. get selected too? No?
They're working on Vietnam.
Okay, Vietnam Air. So if you're interested, have you been to Washington, D.C. and seen all of the memorials? You have? Okay. Anybody else, we can set you up to do that. So I'll have some more information later on. So Jack, do you need a microphone or do you think?
I don't know, we'll see.
Okay.
Okay, good say. Chief, on this particular cutter, I was the chief of D7 on that particular cutter. I'm here today to talk about this particular book. And I'm going to tell you ahead of time, it's in all kinds of copies. It's about $17, $18 on Amazon. If you do it with Kindle, it's free. Pretty good price. I didn't write this book. I only provided all the contact information for Stephen Craig, who did write the book. Okay? He was a retired Coast Guard captain in reserve. So anyway, that's what the book is about. It's written. He wrote it, I guess, probably 45, 46, 48 years after the event. So he wasn't there at the time. At the time of the event in November of 1972, he was a third-class yeoman at Base Honolulu. At this cutter, which I was on, I'm going to tell you the story, my side of the story. was also based in Coast Guard Base Honolulu back in those days. Okay? Now, luckily, I shared with you before, the last time I was here, about Vietnam veterans that were killed in Vietnam. There was 7 Coast Guard guys that didn't return. Okay? Now, I do have a list here, and it is, 19 pages long, and these are the Coast Guard members from 1914 until today that went to sea and never returned. Okay, so my name's not on this list. Okay, just to give you a heads up. So luckily it's not there. But anyway, I'm going to tell you basically my story about the event, not what the author told, but just my side of the story. Okay, and that's where we're at today. It all started in pre-com, because this was a brand new cutter. We were all set there. We got there in September of 1971. Is when Claudia and I arrived there. She's my wife. We formed up at Pearl Harbor. Some of you have already been to Pearl Harbor. It was on Fort Island, Building 86, just for the information, okay? The crew members that weren't married, they lived in the Naval Barracks Assembly you see here. This is important basically because the dive team that assisted us later was also attached to this barracks, so they became a lot more connected over the years. Okay. Now, this particular cutter is called the Coast Guard Jarvis, and it's constructed in Avondale shipyards. And it's kind of amazing the fact they build these things upside down. Okay, and then as it's built, it's a whole brand new ship, and then they turn it over to become a cutter like we have here. And that's kind of amazing to me that we can just flip these things upside down. It was launched from Avondale shipyards, which you see here. A lot of superstructures missing, but you got the idea. And the Jarvis was declared ready for builders trials. Now you can read along with me, of course. And the advantage of this presentation, it keeps me on track. Otherwise, I might tell you other stories. The 14th of December of 71, I told you we got there in September, so you understand the idea. We had spent all this 2 or 3 months going to training, classes, schools. They sent me from Honolulu to New York to go to school, even though we were in Honolulu. So they sent us all over the place to go to school. The queue was laid in September of 70, launched in April of 71. Ship's length was 378 feet compared to what we were subbed for. The beam was 42 feet. When it was ready for acceptance, they put us on Air Force C-141s and flew us from Honolulu to New Orleans. Pre-commissioning is simply, I'm sure you've all been through this, been involved in like the Colorado, a lot of you went to that. There was a pre-commissioning and then a commissioning type thing. Well, the pre-commissioning was on 17th of January of 72 in New Orleans. Now the guy you see saluting there was Master Chief Charles Calhoun. I'm going to tell a little side story here. He was our first E-10 of the Coast Guard, or the first Master Chief of the Coast Guard. It was back in those days when we probably didn't have it when a lot of you guys were in. We didn't have this special title. But Charlie Calhoun was a Master Chief, and he never sailed on this type of cutter. So the XO, Ken White, he was a commander. They said at the time he was one of the highly decorated members of the Coast Guard. I couldn't swear to that. That's just what he claimed, okay? And so he knew everybody in the world, and he invited Charlie Calhoun to come with us. So Charlie Calhoun sailed with us, and being a chief in the chief's mess, we had a lot of time to converse because we were sailing out of New Orleans, heading for Baltimore. I'll tell you why in a minute. But during that conversation, myself, my roommate on board ship, we had 2-man staterooms, Dale Hoosier, when we got orders to Hawaii, they sent us a message, and it says, member may ship full weight allowance, which in our case was 10,000 pounds. But if you got housing, you can only ship 2,000 pounds. So they told us prior to us departing, I left from Virginia to Hawaii. And so They told us that we couldn't get housing once we got to Hawaii simply because we'd ship full weight allowance, even though they told us to. So we told this story, like I'm telling you, to Charlie Calhoun, okay? And then after we got to Baltimore, on Monday morning, the captain, 06 in Hawaii, called my wife and wanted to know what house she wanted. Charlie Calhoun now has a Coast Guard cutter, our newest cutters, named after him. So that's a short side note there. Anyway, we sailed out of New Orleans January 18th. And we arrived in the Coast Guard yards because many changes were going to take place. And we were the 12th of the cutters being built, and a lot of things changed over the years. And the Coast Guard didn't want to pay Avondale to make those changes. They thought it was cheaper for us to sail all the way to the Coast Guard yards in Baltimore, Maryland, and spend 4 months there so they could change all the changes since the original cutters were built. The submarines, you all understand that. Once you build the first sub, you still change it in the second, right? And so we were there. We got new smokestacks, new sonar, new balloon shelters, all kinds of stuff. Anyway, this is the map that we did that time. The red one there is when we got to New Orleans. The green one right below it at the top up there, 12 o'clock, was our commissioning date. The blue ones, we got to Baltimore the 26th of January. The yellow one over there at 2 o'clock. We departed the Coast Guard yards on the 29th of March, 1972. We went to Norfolk, Virginia, because we had to go through the degaussing and stuff. You all understand that, okay? And so we were there for a week or so. Then we had to sail to Charleston to let off all the Navy personnel because they had to certify that what they did in Norfolk was okay. Again, I'm talking vets, so you guys all understand this stuff, right? And then we sailed out of Charleston, and we were supposed to go to Aruba, which most of you know where Aruba is, off of Venezuela there. But we got diverted to a SAR case. SAR case stands for search and rescue. And there was a border vessel down there that was in trouble, so we never got to Aruba. We got diverted to a SAR case. This is a picture of that particular vessel, and we took it and towed it to Panama Canal. And we got there the 13th of April. So we departed on the 29th of March, so 2 weeks later we finally got to Panama Canal. A few days after we were sailing through the Panama Canal, we sailed towards San Diego. Smooth sailing. And we departed San Diego. There's a bunch of little stuff that happened in San Diego, but it's not important, I guess. If you read the book, you might know a lot. Vietnam riots and stuff were happening, and they thought the Coast Guard cutter was a big target or something. Anyway, so we departed for Honolulu on the 26th of April, and you might not believe this, but it was a big deal when we got home, right? We got home the 3rd of May. And then after that, like all good ships, we went to underway training, shakedown training. We did that on 12 June. And we were there actually for 6 weeks until 21 July. So we got interrupted on Father's Day of June 1972. I was sitting at the dining room table. Bonnie had gone next door to get a bottle of water or something next door. And in the meantime, they called on the phone and says, we got a SAR case. We're getting underway for a rescue that was 750 miles south of Honolulu. But anyway, so we departed for that rescue. Now, the problem with this rescue, here's a picture of the boat when we were actually sinking it. But the crew had jumped over the side of the ship. It had a fire, and it was really a hot fire because it melted the portholes and stuff. It was all melted down, the thing. And they were all on the bow. But over this period of time, they were jumping off because it was too hot. But the ship was still underway. The engines were still running. So it was running, see? And so we didn't know that they had had a problem until 10 weeks after this event. Okay? And so this one guy, this picture up here, he found the life raft that they obviously threw over. So everybody else got lost. Of the 23 guys, we only found one guy. That's in the picture right there. And then we had to sink the vessel because the rudder was jammed, so it was going in circles like this, right? So we had to sink it, and we brought back one guy. And then we actually had a commissioning, again, back to you guys understand all about commissioning, 4th of August. And this is the daughter of David Jarvis. David Jarvis is who this cutter was named after. And this was his daughter that showed up. I'll tell you more about that in just a minute. But so after the commissioning on 10 August, we went to what we call Ocean Station November. Those were 21-day patrols that were halfway between Hawaii and San Francisco. We would sit out there for aircraft before satellites, right? Aircraft come over, we gave them weather, we had water temperature, we did everything under the sun for 21 days out there. We only had one aircraft ditch at that particular station. That was in October of 1956. Pan American Clipper lost engines and couldn't make it to either coast. So they ditched, and we saved everybody on board. Okay? That was long before I got there. Now, we departed Honolulu the 27th of September en route to a brand new environment, which happened to be Alaska. It is there that the First Lieutenant David Jarvis made his mark, the reason for this cutter being named. And that's a story in itself, and it's the story of David Jarvis is in these books, but the abridged dictionary, the abridged book is only about the event, not about David Jarvis in this book. It's just very interesting. But David Jarvis was at, when we arrived in Kodiak, 6 October, refueled, Hilo came on board, we used him for surveillance training. In October the 11th, we departed for our assigned patrol areas with the Bering Sea. We went to Dutch Harbor and St. Paul Island. But I want to show you this right here. This is a picture of Alaska projected over the United States. Now you can see the yellow arrow up there. That's Dutch Harbor if you don't know where it is. And the blue arrow shows where it is on the yellow map. Now the reason I share this is because the Jarvis, again, was a big deal in Alaska. I mean, everybody in Alaska thinks he saved the world. The reason was because David Jarvis in 1898, him and 8 other people, another one was Lieutenant J.G. Berthoff. Okay, so Jarvis and Berthoff, the other 2 officers involved, and 6 other people rounded up 600 reindeer. And they traveled 1,500 miles. They left in January of 1898 and drove these 600 reindeer north to Nome because there was 8 whaling vessels that got locked in the ice. And there was a total of 265 whalers who were starving to death because they were stuck in the ice and couldn't go anywhere in Nome, Alaska. So they drove these reindeer in January, and they arrived on 26 March of 1898. That was Jarvis and Berthoff. Berthoff went on to be the first commandant of the Coast Guard. And he was a commandant in 06. The first 2 commandants of the Coast Guard were 06s. Hard to imagine today. We got so many stars on their shoulders, who the hell they are, right? So anyway, we would travel all over Alaska. I just showed the map there, how big this place is. We would travel all over Alaska, visiting everywhere we could to show off Jarvis. But on our way by, we had our 3rd SAR case, which was this vessel here. We found nobody. We sank it because we didn't find anybody. Nobody even knew it was out there. We just happened to find it. And we sailed all the way over to Ketchikan. We went to the Columbia Glacier. We went to Ketchikan. To show you on the map here, the little red arrows where Ketchikan is in the world. If you don't know, from Ketchikan we went to Juneau. You know, that's a district office for the Alaska area for the Coast Guard, by the way. So everybody, all the admirals, everybody had to come down and look at this brand new cutter. From there we went up to Anchorage. Spent a few days in Anchorage, and then we sailed out of Anchorage back to our fishing surveillance operations. After departing Anchorage, Jarvis returned to Bering Sea. The book says we conducted gunnery exercises. I was a gunner's mate, but I don't even remember. Gunnery, to me, shoot the gun and go shoot the gun. It's, you know, like engine and starting an engine. It's something you do, right? So anyway, we took refuge on several occasions from the howling storms. I recall us entering Dutch Harbor. This is my story. We entered Dutch Harbor on the 14th of November, 1972. Now, we went in there because the guy that was striking to be a corpsman, he had a dental problem. We had a corpsman on board, not a dentist. So we go into Dutch Harbor. Well, Dutch Harbor has a veterinarian. Okay? So the veterinarian took care of this guy's teeth. So that's why we were there in the first place, okay? Now, here's another, this is Dutch Harbor from this view. Here's another view of Dutch Harbor. This was taken years later in 1997 by this Jesse Fry. But that's, by 97 they built a pier here. So the Jarvis was a yellow arrow down there. I'm just showing you Dutch Harbor, how Dutch Harbor is if you've never been there. It's primarily a fishing vessel, crab vessels. If you ever watched all that Deadliest Catch and all that stuff, you've seen Dutch Harbor, I presume. And you see where it is. There's Falls Pass. There's Unimac Island up there. Unimac Island on that southwest tip is where I was during the earthquake of 1964 when Alaska had the big earthquake. Just another historical fact. Okay? Now, but then on this particular day, the 14th of November, we were anchored in this area right here. This is what I recall. Begin my story. I wasn't a quartermaster. I didn't care where the ship was going or where it was. As long as I could find the gun mount, I knew where the hell I was. That's it. So this is where we were, as I recall it. Here's a picture that somebody took of us anchored out there in the middle of the channel on that particular day. Now, obviously we weren't anchored, but a storm came up, and so this storm was, I don't know, they say 60, 70 knot wind, but I don't have a clue, right? But a ship at anchor, at that type of winds, is in trouble. So we were dragging anchor, and this was at 2 or 3 in the morning. And so the SEAL was a real nice guy. I mean, he'd been a ship captain in World War II. I mean, he'd been around a long time. Anchored and unanchored many, many, many ships over the years. So he woke up, chief boatswain mate, chief DC, a couple seamen, and let's go raise the anchor and get out of harbor, go to sea. And so the problem was, we now had this wind pushing the ship. Anchor got caught someplace on something, so it wouldn't drive. So we tripped the breaker. We got an electrician back there, right? We had to go wake up the electrician, get him out of bed. It's at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know how slow electricians are. Forever, right? So here we are with an anchor that won't come up because we lost power and tripped the breaker. So all he had to do was go up here and go that, we're ready to go again, right? So anyway, we finally got the anchor up. But in the meantime, guess what? We punched holes in the bottom. Okay? And so if you read paper back in those days, you probably saw the story, but it was just another story. We were on every paper in the world except in Honolulu, because they were always a week behind. Believe it or not, the wives didn't know what the hell was going on most of the time. And so, in the process, we knocked off the sonar dome. The sonar dome was directly under my 5-inch magazine. Okay? Now, they had a plate similar to what you see right here. And that plate had big bolts on it, see? So when that transducer came up, boom, it knocked that plate at an angle because we hit it, right? So that was leaking. So now we had water in the magazine. And we also had water in the engine room. Okay? The engine room, that's a bigger problem than the magazine. Okay? So anyway, we got underway. We sailed out, we finally got the anchor up. We sailed out to the lee side of the mountain, because there's a lot of mountains, there's a chain. So we're on the lee side of the mountain. Okay? And the only thing that the captain called me to the bridge, he says, Chief, I want you to get every swinging blankety blank on this ship, and I want them in the bucket brigade. So I had chiefs and officers, the seaman recruits, everybody in the bucket brigade. Did I need a bucket brigade for the magazine? Probably not, because it was, wasn't that great. We weren't going to sink. But he didn't want you sitting around doing nothing. Everybody else was in the engine room. Everybody else that wasn't in the engine room was in this bucket brigade. Okay? Now, my estimation of what happened in this particular incident as you all will probably think about, when we hit the bottom, we punch the hole. No bigger than my foot. Okay? But we got filled full of rocks. Okay? So the water flow was not as great as it was if it hadn't been there, right? So by 8 o'clock in the morning, we were fixed. We had it all shored up, the water. We had a few little leaks, like your faucet at home, little leaks, but we pumped it out and everybody was happy. So now we have to make a decision. What do we do? Do we sail to Seattle or do we sail to Honolulu? Both the same distance. Got to go get repaired. So the decision was made by people way up the chain that we'll sail to Honolulu. Sounds good. Everybody's there. So here we go. We're going to sail back to Honolulu. Now we get out here in the middle of this, just off the continental shelf out there, and believe it or not, this is a true story. The warrant machinist thought that the shoring wasn't quite straight enough. You know, it was supposed to be 45 degrees and it was 30 degrees or some stupid ass thing, right? And so he's going to fix it. Now we no more rocks. Now the shoring gives way because he fixed it. Now we got a problem. Now we're out here on this continental shelf. I don't know how many miles it is, but that's the position where we are. So now we got an engine room that's filled full of water. Okay? We're now, and this is 60, 70, 40 miles. One of the messages I'm going to show you says it was 45 knot winds. I don't know. Except we took a 60-degree roll. Okay? Whether we did or not, I don't know. Okay? It's like everything else. You do what you do. It's your job, right? You're a crew member. Do what you're told to do. And so we did. And so at this particular time, we lose power. We have no power in the engine room. We've got an emergency diesel and an emergency turbine in the back to give you light bulbs and stuff, but nothing to run the ship. So here we are drifting in the trough, as they call it. Okay? And we're doing all this and stuff rolling. It's somewhere in the middle of the night. You guys were never pilots, but somewhere in the middle of the night, the pilots on that helicopter we talked about, they decided to abandon ship. So the wind stopped for 30 minutes, quote unquote, in the logbook, right? And they took off. So they went and found the beach someplace and sit on the beach somewhere all night because they've been, in those days, we only had where we had type of navigation, you know. And so they froze their butts off on the beach someplace, but they abandoned the ship as soon as they could get out of there. And so this is some of the message traffic that went out to the world. We saw 2 SOSs, and it's one of the very, very few times in Coast Guard history where we sent out an SOS because we're in trouble. We're heading. If you've been to Alaska, there's no snow. Waikiki Beach in Alaska. It's all rock walls and rock everything, right? So here we are. Now the reason there's 2 SOSs, the chief radioman, Military was his name. He was so nervous when he sent out the first SOS, he didn't know if he sent it right. So he sent it again to confirm that it really was an SOS. And so I've talked to people since, and we're in Alaska, I've talked to people who were in New York, and they heard our SOS. A long way, Morse code went a long ways. I don't know how that worked. If you're radio, you guys probably know that stuff. But anyway, and we were drifting. We were in trouble. And we're just not going to work. And I told you, the helo took off. There's no message traffic. There's no records when this helo took off. But we know they have at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, they took off. Now this is a picture on the port side. You see all the water we're trying to pump out of the engine room. There's 3 or 4 pumps pumping, right? You all understand pumps and where we're at. So that's where we are. This is a picture of the engine room. The one on the left-hand side, you can see up to the top, there's some steel shoring up there, trying to keep it in. The hole was underneath that shaft you see there, and so that's where it was. So water was there. Now, as you all know, the water in the engine room will be the same height as the water outside. It doesn't fill all the way to the up like this. So whatever the water was outside, that's what we were. So when I say the engine was full of water, it wasn't running out the decks on the main deck. It was running out whatever the water was. So there's pictures of the water. some of our hoses and the likes. And anyway, we were in trouble. Lieutenant Bartlow, he was the first lieutenant at the time. As the flooding continues, the pumps couldn't keep up. My understanding that no amount of pumping would have been able to keep up. When the engine spaces were flooded, the ship reached some stability as the compartmentation allowed for the ship to remain afloat as long as no other deck compartments were compromised. Again, talking to sailors, you got it. Okay. And here we are right here after 9 hours. The ship was going to arrive. So it took 9 hours from our SOS, and that ship was supposed to arrive to assist us at that time. Now, here's a couple stories in the meantime. While losing power due to the flooding, this is Lieutenant Bartlow again, I spent my time on the deck force recovering gasoline for dewatering pumps at 0200 in the morning, preparing the ship to be towed at 0445, which is the Japanese ship that was coming to help us. Regarding the gasoline recovery on that trip, as head of the deck force, we were called upon to retrieve the gasoline deliveries that would support the dewatering pumps. With the leadership of Chief Stanzik, the Chief Boatswain, and the participation of the deck force, we made every attempt possible to retrieve gasoline being delivered by Air Station Kodiak, C-130, dropping gasoline. We gave I'll give every actually possible to the H-130 pilots dropping those supplies to our sickened ship. With winds approaching 70 knots, again, numbers, they were able to make recovery possible. Under these adverse conditions, the drops were close enough that the first drop had the parachute riding along the side of the deck. We were unable to retrieve it because the drifting was too fast. However, we were ready for the second drop. Those pilots were perfect. The chief, myself, and the deck force were stationed on the flight deck, hand in hand, holding hands, ready to retrieve the drop as it made its way toward us, toward the foundering ship. H-130 crossed the T, and we saw the parachute perfectly deployed, heading straight for us downwind. In no time, we realized that it was not such a good idea as we saw the parachute holding a 55-gallon drum of gasoline heading for us at 70 knots. I'm not sure who yelled, but we all dispersed, and the 55-gallon drum hit the starboard side of the flight deck, sparked across the width of the flight deck, and landed in the safety nets on the other side. Needless to say, we terminated that method of recovery. Now that gasoline container, 55 gallons, the drum was like that after we retrieved it. It bulked up that big. So luckily it didn't break or burst, or better term, I guess. And anyway, we needed gasoline to run all those pumps aboard ship. The Jarvis, we prepared to abandon ship. All the life rafts were down on the main deck. All the service records were put in bags. And then Lieutenant J.G. Barlow continues. The rest of the morning was devoted to us bringing a towing hawser from the after lazarette to the bow. Because obviously this Japanese trawler doesn't have a towing hawser. Coast Guard is one normally towing, not the other way around. So they had to bring it up. And I learned later they brought it through the wardroom, through officers' country, all the way up to the bow of the ship. I didn't know that until years later. They did that so we could be towed. Now, at 0232, the ship was going to arrive, this Maru, Ku Maru, was first sighted about 30 minutes ahead of time. That's when the XO piped me to I was sleeping on the chief's quarters, chief's mess deck. I was sound asleep. Because keep in mind, it's been 24 hours since we started this evolution, right? It happened 3 o'clock the previous morning. Now we're 3 o'clock the following morning. We worked all day because we fixed the ship the first day, and it wasn't until 1900 the next day. We're all telling ourselves how good we were the first time, right? So we never wouldn't go back to bed for that 5 or 6 hours of sleep we all missed in the morning. So here's 24 hours later. I'm sleeping on the deck. The XO piped me. Obviously, because I was the one going to fire a line throwing gun. Line throwing gun was as a means of firing a line from ship to ship so we can pass lines back and forth. This is the Coast Guard version right here. Navy version is a little bit different, but you got the idea. Okay, now keep in mind, morning is always dark 30 in Alaska. It's just dark. There's no daylight in all these operations. So we reportedly got towed at 04:45. It was an all-night operation. And if you've seen that picture on the left, the towing line is like a clothesline. And you never tow with a line that taut. It's always dipped in the water, because otherwise the ships go like this, and you park the line. But obviously with the wind conditions and all that stuff we were facing, our towing line was just like a clothesline. And so something shouldn't happen. There's a picture in the bottom left-hand corner of that Japanese longliner that saved my ass and kept me off of this list right here. Because I really believe that if we hit the rocks, and supposedly we were 1,000 yards from hitting those rocks. And so I so firmly believe I was on that list. That's just me. And they told us to what was called Beaver. It is all message traffic. It's there. It was called Beaver Inlet, which is the opposite side of Kodiak, of Dutch Harbor, excuse me. If you go over that mountain right there where that little red arrow is, that's Dutch Harbor on the other side, right at the top left-hand corner of that bottom picture. That's where Dutch Harbor is. And we're now at Beaver Inlet. And we went in there and we anchored and we stayed there for 4 days. And we got there. This is a handwritten message by the captain of that Maru. This is his record entries of what he wrote in his log. Okay? Now that helicopter that we lost in the middle of the night, it provided airlift from Dutch Harbor to us for the 4 days that we were anchored, because everything in the world, we became Stat 2. And if you ever know the Joint Chiefs of Staff, they have 4 staffs, 1, 2, 3, 4. Obviously 1 is we go to war after. 2 is for everything we wanted. If you wanted a piece of paper, it was there in 24 hours, no matter where it came from the world. I mean, it was amazing the stuff that arrived to our ship. We got everything in I don't know why. We had dive teams to show up from Japan. That dive team I told you about in Pearl Harbor, they showed up. When they showed up, they told that dive team from Japan to go home. Because they knew all the crew members, because they were stationed together for 3 months, right? So they felt akin to this Jarvis, so that's where they were there. Obviously, the Coast Guard didn't have any divers in those days. There were ships that came to assist us. This is this is a Winona. It came from Seattle, Washington. So obviously, Seattle to Dutch Harbor, it took them 5 days to get there. Okay, but anyway, they did. It's again, it's all message traffic, and if we had time, I could read it all to you. But anyway, we got the idea. The engine room itself, just a picture of the engines in between the 2 diesels. Believe it or not, it was kind of oily and messed up, right? Kind of full of water. We also had a turbine on board. It looked like this. This turbine is the same turbine that's in the 707 jet. We used that when we wanted to get there in a hurry. So it took a lot of fuel, but so it never got overhauled. It got replaced, but not overhauled. Okay? And they sent a commercial tug to tow us, even though we had Coast Guard cutters there. They were afraid with the wind conditions and sea conditions that we may have a problem because we didn't have a tugboat which could push and pull and do what it had to do. So this Foss vessel, Richard Foss, showed up, and it was 3 days after we went on the ground and it showed up, and it towed us back from Beaver Inlet all the way around back to Dutch Harbor, which is the yellow arrow in the top left-hand corner. And it towed us up to a pier over here. You see the arrow in the top of the picture there. And that was 4 days after we went aground. Now, we still hadn't patched the hole. We had a canvas over it. You take a canvas with 4 ropes and you run it under the ship and you move it along until you get to where you do, then you tighten it up. So now you got a canvas over the hole, or rocks in the hole. Like I told you, rocks in the hole, right? But this time, the deep damage control had cement and all that stuff inside the ship, and it hardens in the water. And if you're a DC, anybody DC, you understand that part of it, I guess. Okay? Anyway, so they done a lot. And then when they got there, the divers built a patch, looked just like this. Now you can see his shoe right there, so you know the hole's not very big. Now this patch is weird shape. They did that, they took a picture frame of 2x4s like this with nails. And they went down there and held it on the deck and drove all the nails in. So that gave them the contour of our bottom after we punched holes in. So that was the contour of the bottom of the ship. And that's the patch they built, which they went underwater and they welded that sucker to the deck. I'm still amazed you can weld underwater, but that's what divers do. And so that's what it looked like. They put 2 cleats on it, so they put a cable on it, so the cables went up each side of the ship and, clamped it all down, with the weld and the clamps and all that stuff. Okay. The sonar dome was still busted. It's just a picture after the fact, but it was, what had happened is the chief sonarman went down to that plate I showed you earlier, and he took some hemp and took every bolt off and jammed it all back down, but hemp and stuff to try to keep the water from flowing into my 5-inch projectile magazine. Yeah. So it was pretty well controlled. While we were there, I told you that the Joint Chiefs of Staff sent us everything under the sun. We were supplying all the vessels that came to help us Thanksgiving. So everybody in Alaska was sending us everything for Thanksgiving. So it all came to Dutch Harbor. They trucked it over to us. The crew put it aboard ship, and then we gave it to all the ships that were helping us. We were providing stuff for them. Now, some of the crew went home because we didn't need everybody on board anymore. We're a non-operational ship. We just have to get ourselves home, right? So 21 of the crew went home, and that's really the first time that the wives got involved because, back in those days, the call from Hawaii to California was $6 or something an hour, and an expensive thing, not like today. So nobody knew anything. So they
I've been a quarter a minute.
whatever it was more than we could afford. Because back to my story about Chief Cottrell, because I also told him that we were paying for housing in Hawaii $300 more a month than I was making. I was E7. And so we were going bankrupt. I mean, that's all it was to it. And so if Cottrell saved my ass.
Calhoun.
Charlie Calhoun. Charlie Calhoun saved my ass. But anyway, while we were in Dutch Harbor, we had 3 shifts. Three shifts, 8 to 4, 4 to midnight, repaired the diesels. And the midnight to 8 in the morning cleaned the engine room. Okay? And so the ships that came to help us, the Balsam, the Winona from Seattle, the Balsam and the Citrus were out of Alaska. They were stationed in Alaska. But anyway, so of all that time, we went aground on the 15th, and here we are now, the 28th of November. We are getting underway on our own power, heading back for Honolulu. So in 13 days, the crew completely rebuilt the diesels, got them back in operation, and we're sailing out of there, sailing back to Hawaii, going back to Honolulu. Now they made the Winona go with us, even though they're out of Seattle. So they had to sail with us. And you see the course there, how jagged it is. It's not a straight course because the Weather Bureau was controlling where we drove or sailed or whatever we did. So they didn't want us to go into any storms. So we were like this as we crossed the Pacific. Anyway, obviously when we went back, we went into shipyards. Here's a picture of that. Again, I talked about the sonar dome again only because it was underneath my magazine. Here's the patch again, close-up view. There's a picture of the rudder. I'm not about rudder, excuse me, the screw. There's a picture of the screw. Obviously, everything had to be repaired and replaced. Okay? And the Jarvis was decommissioned on the 2nd of October of 2013. So it went on to survive for 44 years. Okay? Even though it had been washed out. We washed out the engine room for it. After decommissioning, Admiral Zukov, he was in PAC area. He went on to be Commandant of the Coast Guard. He presented us all with his challenge coin. You all understand those. And the guy with the sunglasses retired as a commander. Here's his picture in the top corner there. That's when he was a seaman. So his wife took the picture of Zukov giving me his coin, and Berkey was in the background of the picture. Luckily, the commanding officer, the last commanding officer of the Jarvis, had been stationed here in Colorado. Some of you may not know, we have an admiral in Colorado, plus a whole bunch of other officers, 5 or 6 of them in Colorado Springs. Peterson, right? We have people in Buckley. We have a command up there, 21 people or something up Buckley. So those are operational people. But anyway, the last commanding officer was stationed at Peterson. And so Admiral Abel was the admiral at the time. So he came to one of my lunches, similar to what you have here. He came to all my lunches, even though he was still active. And so he came and I told him about this Jarvis story, not as long as I told today, but you got the idea. And so he says, well, the new commanding officer works for me in Colorado Springs. He's going to report there July 1st. I says, great. The problem with the Coast Guard, believe it or not, whenever they commissioned the ship, the commandant gave 24-hour notice. And Pac Area, which is Admiral Zukov, I told you a minute ago, he gave 12-hour notice. Now this is happening in Hawaii. I live in Denver. Okay? But so the CO of the vessel was in contact with me all the time, back and forth. We're going to decommission it, because he knew we were going to decommission the cutters. They're 44 years old. And so we're going to decommission it in 2013. No, we changed it to fiscal year 2013 on the Friday the 8th or some damn thing. And then before we got there, he says, no, Zukov doesn't want to do it on Friday, he wants to do it on Tuesday. Well, you see all the guys that showed up. These are all old crew members that showed up from all over the United States that went to Hawaii. And so I have contact with all these guys. And so we all showed up. And only 3 of them had a problem because they went for Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The rest of us went for a week. Smart people. So the ones that went for a week were okay because we went from Friday to Tuesday. We were still okay. The ones that went Friday, Saturday, and Sunday had to change their things. Well, I had a CO write a letter to the airlines so they got their money back for changing their flights. So those 3 of them got that. And it went on to be in 23rd of May. It was transferred to Bangladesh. As far as I know, it's still there. It was one of the largest and heavily armored frigates of the Bangladesh Navy. And I don't even know if it's still there or not, to be honest with you. That was, 12 years ago, so what's happening. Again, this is all about this book. Again, I didn't write it. All I did was provide information. The author, Stephen Craig, says I gave him 1,000 files of information because I had everybody's pictures, all the pictures in the book, pictures I shared with you, somewhere in the book, all that stuff, because he didn't know anything about it except I was there in Hawaii at the base. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Now, hopefully I told the same story today that I told to Paul the last time I told him. But I told it the last time.
It's pretty close. I thought you said it was a lieutenant or JG or something that decided he wanted to rearrange the damage control.
Now, it was a war machinist.
It was a machinist.
Now, the lieutenant, he was the acting engineering officer because the lieutenant commanding engineering officer had taken leave. Because we'd been running around the country for a year almost. So he took leave. So there was a Lieutenant JG was the acting engineering officer. He's the one that I have the letter from that says the ward machinist was the one doing the work, doing the deed. Rearranging.
What happened to the skipper? Did he get any?
Yeah, the skipper, as I told you, he was a very nice guy. He went to all of the board hearing by himself. Didn't take any officers. The OD was a brand new incident. I should point this out. It was his first watch he ever stood by himself. Because how could you get in trouble when you're anchored, right? It was an incident. Just been on board. So put the incident in charge. All the other officers go to sleep, right? And we got in trouble with the anchor dragging, and nobody was behind it. But he went to the board all by himself, and he retired, of course.
So did his hands get slapped, or was he commended for saving the ship?
They always got to blame somebody, And he was asleep at the time. And he'd been up for quite a few hours for the storm. He cut his hand, wrecked the car with it, so he cut a tendon in his hand, and so he had a big hand injury at the time. He had to have surgery when we went back to life to reattach the tendons in his hand. But like I said, he went to the board all by himself. He blamed nobody. He just went and says, I was the CEO. Here I am. He retired in Pennsylvania. I have pictures of the crew visiting him in his farm in Pennsylvania. Obviously, all the senior officers had passed before this book was written. So we have stories of his kids, and Commander White's kids, and all the family members told stories, over the years. The senior officers at the time. All of us other guys, we have fish stories. The fish I caught last 30, I know that fish, I know that fish was that big. So I'm not telling you that all our stories are fish stories, but they're, everybody, we all tell things. And I do a PowerPoint just so I try to tell the same story close.
So none of you out have any questions? All right. Thank you very much, Jack. Much appreciated.
Yeah, when I listened to his talk the first time, I knew that it would be something that you guys would enjoy. So, okay, so let's go through the birthdays for July. Jimmy Klein is the 6th. Chris Pace is the 7th. David Barham is the 7th. Dale Bowman is the 13th, and he's bringing the cake. Bill Anderson, the 24th. Randy Akers is the 26th. For birthdays next month, Bill Gregory, you're on the 4th, and Grant Day is on the 7th. Do we have a volunteer for bringing the cake for next month? Grant, who said? Okay, we'll get you there. Dick, we'll get. You're going to let Terry know too?
Yeah, I'll let her know.
Okay.
You
Okay, so remember we got the 50-50. Raise your hand. Larry's got it back there. Let's take a break for coffee and cake. If everybody would get their seats, please. Okay, the first thing I want to discuss is Dennis Robinson, when he passed away last Wednesday. And I got an email from Barbara. She would like me to read this. She says, Dennis was a very private person who never wanted to fuss over things. He was always putzing around and loved to make his properties look good no matter where we lived. His choice was to be cremated and have no services upon his death. We are honoring his wishes, and we've left a huge void in our family, but Kim and Kevin and I are content that we were with him when he took his final breath on Saturday night. He is out of pain and been greeted by so many relatives and friends from our 57 plus years together. I want to thank you all for the kind words and thoughts to me and my family. Signed, Barbara. So I thought we'd just take a minute. All I remember is Dennis was always there for Taps for Kids. He was always there for bingo. He was known as the Candy Man because he always bought candy for everybody and they really enjoyed it. So does anybody else have memories of Dennis? Okay, I just wanted to have a little bit of a memorial for him, even though he doesn't want a service. Okay, next, Taps for Kids. Our very first one in 2 years is going to be September 9th. That's a Tuesday. at Children's Hospital. Time is 13:30, but we need to be there 45 minutes early because they have quite a security clearance that you have to go through to get yourself into their main lobby. And so Jennifer will need some help offloading boxes and stuff. And Jennifer, do you have anything to add?
Well, we still need to know a day ahead of time, all the names, so I can give them to the director. So maybe by the August meeting, if you guys have a good idea if you're coming or not, let me know and I'll write your names down.
Okay, good. I'll make sure I put that word out. Okay, Western Regional Roundup 2026, going to be at the Resort Sam's Town in Las Vegas. The dates are April 16th through the 19th. Room cost is running $89 for weekdays and $139 for Friday and Saturday. There is a KOA campground right next across the street. They're going to start registration here September, or I guess August and September they're going to start that. And I know Julie and I are going. Tammy, Dale, you guys are going? And we're going to drive, so take a nice leisure drive. So I really highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun and things to do, and a lot of meetings and a lot of people you meet. I met base commanders from Seattle area and Boise, Idaho, and a couple other places. So it was well worth it. Okay, remember our 50th anniversary plaque. I had it here somewhere. Ah, here it is. Okay, so this is the final. Did the stars line up good enough, Tammy?
Yes, they did.
Okay, thank
I'm
you.
worried about that.
So this is what we our final design is coming up to. You see down here at the bottom we have the flag company that helped put the post flag pole in. They probably saved us $3,000 in installation fees. And then we have ourselves. And on this side we have the Denver Recreational and Parks. And the reason we'd added them is because when we had the meeting, what was it, 2 weeks ago, Grant, something like that, they actually offered to bring a backhoe in and dig the hole for us and lay down the gravel and the sand. And they would take care of all the dirt that was carried away and stuff like that. So
We asked them to say yes.
yeah, we asked and they said yes, and so we told them we would do that. And so this is the final one we've come up with. Does anybody have any comments, changes?
Looks good, looks great.
Looks good, looks great. Okay, so now the big issue was, how are we going to pay for it? And through the work of Grant and Dan, we were able to get a grant from the Charitable Foundation for $3,000. And so that's going to cover most of the plaque. It's going to cost, what'd you say, $550 for the welding?
Well, yeah,
Yeah, so we have that.
it's a story in itself.
And he has the $1 million insurance policy. So to work on a Denver Parks Recs area, they require that all contractors have $1 million liability insurance. So we were able to find somebody for about $400, but he didn't have the liability insurance. So we had to go to somebody more. So that's about $550. Mr. Ray said that he was going to cover the cost of the installation of the plaque. And so we'd come up with an idea, which I really think is a good idea, and that is doing paving stones with engravings on it around the flag pole itself. It's going to be about an 8x8 square.
4x8 or 8x8.
No, I'm talking the area.
7 foot by 7 foot.
Okay, 7 foot by 7 foot for the area that we're covering. If you see on the tables in front of you, you'll get examples of what the bricks look like. Grant has one with him that they sent to us. So if you want no emblem on it, then you get 3 lines with 20 characters. If you put an emblem on it, like Dolphins or Navy or whatever you like, then it's 3 lines of 15 characters each for the 4 by 8.
The space is a character.
Yeah, a space is a character. And so we're going to be selling those for $50 for the 4-inch by 8-inch brick. And then they also have you can take that home with you if you like. And we also have, because I've got a whole mess of pictures. We also have the ability to do an 8 by 8. Okay, and the 8 by 8 will require $100 to purchase an 8 by 8. And we're going to be opening it up to active members and associate members. People, if you have somebody that has passed that was in another military branch, you can put that on there. So I'm going to do one for myself, one for Julie's dad, who was in the Korean War, one for Julie's grandfather, who was in World War II, and then my dad was in World War II, and my grandfather was in World War I. And so we're going to be purchasing 5 of those. So we...
There's only 3 more available, right?
What's that?
There's only 3 more available. I can
Yeah.
get 'em up.
And so we have the potential of 160, is it?
We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, somewhere around 160 bricks. And so Grant is going to be the one that's going to be taking the orders. And you want to start this month or next month on taking orders?
Next month I will have an order form.
Okay.
Where you can fill that out and say what you want to have on the brick, which
Okay.
brick you want. We're going to have 4 colors available of
Yes.
the bricks so that you can pick and choose a particular color. This is, of course, the gray one, which looks like that.
So it'll be, they have a gray, a brown, what were the other ones? Red
Red, gray, beige, and tan.
and tan. And so basically, I wanted to pose the question to you. Do we all want to go with one color bricks? Or do we want to do like the salt and pepper? Whatever people want, we'll just randomly put them in there.
Why don't we do World War I a certain color, World War II a certain color?
Any comments on that? There's only 4 colors, but I kind of like that idea, but what do other people think? So I got to live with her, so.
You're getting 10 bricks.
Yeah, you got one.
That limits it to one person, if someone wants to order 2 of the same brick, different
Yeah.
boards.
Well, you can order colors for each brick that you order, different colors for each brick that you order. And so, does anybody have any comments about salt and pepper?
I like the idea.
Okay, he likes it. Anybody want to be solid?
Raise your hand just a moment.
Yes. I was looking at you, Tammy.
To be solid, I'm just sitting over here keeping my mouth shut for a change. I'm not his ankle.
Yeah, that's a first.
I know.
Do we want to do a vote? Do we? How many want multiple colors? Raise your hand. Okay. I think that was done. So we can, Grant, what do you think of the idea of posing colors for each war? Or, because we got Vietnam, Korean, World War II, and World War I.
You also got the Gulf War. You got the Cold War.
Yeah.
Got more wars than you have callers.
Let people
I would say.
Okay, so we'll just let people pick. Okay. And we're also opening it up, so Jack Hunter is actually one of the major coordinators for the Vietnam Veterans of Colorado. And he holds a monthly meeting which gets 60 to 100 people there. And he'd like to open it up for them, which I think we're going to do, right, Grant? Yeah. And so I'm going to email all that information to Jack so he can put it out to his members. Okay. Challenge coins are here. If you haven't got your coins, let Tammy know. So how we doing? We got a lot of people to pick them up already, or you?
Yeah, we've got probably more than half.
Okay. I'll put it out in an email to have them contact you, or do you want to just wait till next month, or what?
It's a, you know, I mean, if they pay me, then I have to find a way to get them the coins.
Oh, that's right. That'll cost money to send. Okay, the next thing we need to talk about, what was that? The next thing we need to talk about is the plaques that we have at Fort Logan. We have 2 plaques. This one's the World War II. You can see the discoloration and the background is falling off and stuff, so we need to wire brush that down and paint the whole thing black. And then Bruce Marston said he'd come out and paint all the lettering and the figures in gold. Once that's all dry, then Grant said we'd spray it down with a polyurethane or something. So this is the World War II one. It's in the worst shape. And then here's the USSVI one. It's not so bad, but we kind of need it to get in better shape. And Myra, where are they located again?
They're behind Shelter B.
Shelter B.
Yeah, there's a walkway, and it's on the walkway, but it's behind Shelter B.
Okay, so the only thing we need to do is we need to call the administration office and let them know that we're going to be showing up to do this work, because they just need to be controlled on who's going to, why people are there and stuff like that. Somebody turned the TV on.
That's a Coast Guard turning on the TV.
Hey Ray, do you know where the remotes are kept? All right. Thank you much. Okay, so the day I have picked is August 9th. That's a Saturday. Julie and I are heading off for a boat reunion here on Monday, and we'll be gone for about a week and a half. And so August 9th. Is that something some people would like to join us? Right now, Grant and myself are the only 2 that we know able to come. Larry is going to help. I'll bring a wire brush. We have the black paint, Dale, over at your place, right?
Yeah, I think there's.
Okay. Okay, so Grant, you'll get brushes, paint, and wire brushes, and I'll bring my drill just in case. Okay, so I'll put that word out too. So what time do you want to be? You want to go to? Oh, okay. What time works, Grant? 10 o'clock? Let's do 10 o'clock. I'll put that word out so. Okay, the Estes Parade, big success. We had 21 people show up. 22? Who's the one I missed?
One was, Devin wasn't in the photo.
Oh, okay. I could have sworn I counted that photo a couple times. There was 2 taking pictures, right? You and Dan, I think, wasn't took pictures. Oh, that's right, Larry. Anyway, we had a lot of fun. We went out to dinner the night before. We went to the parade, and then we did the lunch together, and it all went really well. And it's turned into a real kind of tradition. Kind of Dick Life started it for us about 3 years ago when he offered to pay for all our room and board, and then from there we liked it so much we continued it. So it's well worth it if you guys want to come on up. Except for Andy, he ran himself to death giving out candies.
Ran out of candy.
Yeah, they were running out of steam too.
Abby wouldn't let me run over.
You would.
Exactly, yeah, I was trying to get off before
I like you too.
It was a lot of fun, people. We enjoyed it. The only issue was that our inverter broke or died, so we weren't able to do our auga horn. And so I just sat there staring at people with nothing to do. Okay. So upcoming parades. We are already signed up and ready to go for the Boulder County Parade, which is actually going to be down the main street of Longmont. That is on August 2nd. That's a week from this day. We just got all the information from Jeff on where we need to stage and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm going to be sending that out tomorrow, and hopefully we'll get a good turnout. This is the first time for doing this one, so yes. Oh, that's right. We are 3rd in line. So we'll be right in the front.
This is the 2nd time we've done this.
Oh, did we do it a long time ago? So you know all about it. You're the leader?
I don't know diddly squat. I was reading this thing and there's no parking by that park that they've got up.
They won't let us park in Roosevelt Park till we're closed.
Okay, so can you find a street close by that we
We
can?
have to, either that or else we're gonna have to find a place to park and consolidate people into. They'll let you drive a car and they'll drop the people off, but they won't let you park there.
Okay,
It'd be like that when we did in Aurora. You could
Yeah, yeah.
Again, but you had to park on Main Street.
Right.
Yeah.
okay, so how many people are going to be going? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I already counted him.
Maybe.
So we meet at Roosevelt Park?
I'm not sure where we'll be meeting. I will give Grant and Dale and Tammy my email addresses for everybody, so that if you want to send something out like the day before to remind people to show up, you can always meet at your house and just ride the trailer over.
I was just gonna say that, we can't drive the trailer, we can't have anybody on the float to go from our house over to Longmont, but we could take a couple in the truck.
Yeah, that's right. He can hold 3 in the back end. Do you think Dale Jr. will be joining us? Aye, aye.
His mother said so.
Captain. Grant.
Interesting story that happened just this last weekend. I was at a function, and so the person asked me, so what do I do outside of playing music and stuff like this? And I said I work with veterans organizations, especially Rocky Mountain submarine veterans. And she says, got an interesting story for you. It says on April 18th of 2018, I was working at a feed store in Meade. And a person came up to me and says, can I store my submarine in your shelter, and, in their barn overnight, because I guess they were doing the parade somewhere around there the next day. And I said, was it a blue trailer? And she says, I got a picture. I'll go find the picture. So she did, And yes, it was our blue trailer to the old configuration of it,
Wow.
that they parked there overnight for the parade that they were doing the next day. You know, so it was kind of interesting. I said, is this what it looks like? Yeah. So, interesting conversation.
Okay, so that's going to be this week from today. Then the Littleton Parade is on the 16th, which is another 2 weeks past, so 3 weeks from now for the Littleton Parade. Now, we've done the Littleton Parade a couple times, and they have a really huge parking lot right there off of Broadway that we can put everything together and load us up and then drive down to the staging area.
They actually had a staging at the VFW, a couple streets up from that parking lot.
Okay.
The parking was there, and they had a shuttle that would take you from the parking lot up to the staging.
Okay, so we haven't got all the details yet on that, so as soon as Jeff gets that, he'll send it to me and we'll make our plans. Okay, thanks. Dale?
We set the boat up at the parking lot.
Yeah, we did.
And then drove to the staging area.
Right.
We did not know where the hell we were supposed to be in line.
Yeah, they didn't do it until that,
Back up the
yeah.
street a half mile to find out where the hell we were supposed to be.
Wasn't it something to do with that they decided at that time period where you were gonna be staged?
Yeah, yeah.
They didn't do it
They didn't pre-assign.
pre-assigned, but they stuck us way up in the front. We were like second or third. Yeah. Okay, so as it gets closer to there, we'll have more details that I'll put out in emails. Okay, our third parade we got set up is September 1st at the Louisville Labor Day Parade, and that is Monday. And Dale, Jeff, have you looked into that at all yet?
I haven't registered for it yet, but there's still plenty of time.
Okay, sounds good. And then the last one's going to be the Broomfield Days, August 20th. So August 20th seems everybody in there. Excuse me.
September.
You're right. September 20th.
We got Brookfield Day.
Louisville Labor Day. Okay, so for some reason, everybody wants to do September 20th. So we've done two of the Frederick parades was on the 20th, and we also, they had the Broomfield Days on the 20th, and so we were going to swap back and forth. But there's a third one, and it's the Cherry Creek School Districts. They hold a Military and Veterans Appreciation Day where they have helicopters and trucks and tanks and all sorts of stuff. And it's one of those static events that we had such a good result from when we did the Colorado Remembers at the Freedom Memorial Park. So I'm hoping that next year we'll try to do the Cherry Creek one. And then we'll go and rotate Frederick 1 week, we go 1 year, Broomfield 1 year, and then the Cherry Creek School Districts the other. Okay, I told everybody that our speaker for next month is Henry Jones. And he, like I said, he's the major coordinator for the honor flights. And he said he's going to bring some of his board members with him, so there'll be multiple people to give us information about it and everything. And so he sent me an email, if I can find it here. Basically what it says is that the honor flight and Channel 9 is having a telethon. And they're looking for volunteers to man the phones. And so it's what did I say it was, a Thursday, September 18th. That's a Thursday. It is being held from 0500 to 1700. And they're looking for volunteers to sit behind the desk with all, taking the phone calls for donations. More than likely it'll be on that Channel 20. You know, I think Channel 20 is a subsidiary of Channel 9. And so all day long, they're going to have the telephone going on. And they're looking for volunteers. Is anybody interested in doing this? I am. We can wear our vests. We can get some coverage, statewide coverage. And I highly recommend it. Anybody else interested? Maybe you?
What was the date again?
September 18th. From 0500 to 1700, so we could actually, you can pick and choose what hours you want to go and how long you want to go. Besides getting pictures of us wearing our hats and our vests and stuff like that on TV, I was hoping to use that opportunity to do some connections with Channel 9 on who I need to talk to set out community information. Because in 2027, we have the Western Regional Roundup. So if we're able to have that put out on the TV, we may get some pretty good results on that. Okay, so I'll be pushing it next month too. Okay, we've kind of run into a little snag that's kind of hurting post 17. How many people here switched from 161 to 17? How many actually got your card saying that you were part of 17? Everyone said 161. I just got mine 2 days ago. It says 161. And so Mr. Ray is going to bump that up to the state representative of American Legion and try to find out what's going on. So I need everybody to contact me with that said they switched so that we have a good head count of who it was, and that way we can actually hunt names down and try to get that switched over. Okay? So contact me or Ray, let them know, and we'll try to correct that. The post here can definitely use the money.
I can give anybody my email address too. And or cell phone number.
Well, when I send the email out, I'll put your cell phone and your email.
Very good, thank you, Paul.
But we really need you to take 5 minutes and send them your name so that we have a good head count.
And the sooner the better.
Yes,
I don't want to be driving downtown
3 or 4 times.
to 12 in December.
Okay. Remember we decided the executive board last month that Dale Jr., Bowman Jr., we were going to pay for his first year's associate member because all the work he's done tremendous amount of work on the rebuilding of the float. And remember I was talking to everybody about how we needed to build some kind of little wall inside the tent to keep it from falling apart. Well, Dale Jr.'s already has already got that all done for us. He's just like a little dynamo. You just can't slow him down. But he's got 1 row of pallets on each side of the side walls, and he's got a 2-row pallets on the back wall. Not only will that help prevent the wind from blowing the tent to pieces, it'll also prevent anybody from sneaking underneath the tent to get in. And on top of that, as you know, that they built a large complex right next door to Dale and Tammy's house. And it's supposed to be low-income housing, so we're not sure about all the people that are going to be staying there. And so we're considering on the back corner of the tent to have a solar-powered floodlight that's motion detected, and then a camera. And then on the front part of the tent is going to be another motion detector floodlight. And then Dale and Tammy are going to put some cameras at the front of their house so that it kind of covers the front of the tent.
We need a gun for Dale, he can guard.
I don't think he needs...
Like it's 8,000 lumens. Aim it at that float.
Put your hat out. Thanks, Rick.
Okay, so Those though are not terribly expensive. We're talking probably $100 total. Does anybody have any discussion on that, or do you think it's necessary, unnecessary? Anything? Such an active crowd. Yeah, so I think that's necessary, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And I second that motion. Okay. I want to again say about Library of Congress Veterans History Project. Robert, have you done that yet? Please do. I mean, you've got some fantastic stories as part of your career. And you can go do the Arctic stuff and the Antarctic stuff and everything. So basically all you do is Google Veterans History Project. And it'll pop right up. It's a Congressional Library of Congress type program. Once you file your permit, or not a permit, but once you're registered to it, they will contact you with a local person in your area. More than likely it's a graduate student that's doing something in communications or stuff. And they set up a video camera and you sit there and talk about your military career. In your case, it'd be like 5 hours long, right?
I'm so shocked.
Yeah.
I got the info.
Okay, yes, ma'am. That's good. You keep it going. Anyway, other people too that, there's a lot of people in here that had some pretty good stories to tell. And so, Andy, I'm thinking you're one of them too that needs to take care of that.
Oh, what was that, Google what?
It's called Veterans History Project. Okay. If there are no corrections to the minutes from our last meeting that was put out in a newsletter, we will accept them as is. Does anybody have any corrections? Grant, would you like to go through a quick summary? You want to come up here, or do you want to stay there?
You want me up there? Can you hear me or not?
We can hear you.
What? Okay. All right, so we have two reports since I wasn't here for the June meeting. So for the month of May, we had $210 worth of income and net expenses of $670, and that was mostly items purchased for finishing up the trailer, the float trailer and the lift and all of that stuff. And we had and also costs for the Grayling Memorial itself, maintenance materials. And so that gave us a net loss of $460.57 for, any questions about last May? Okay. For the month of June, we had income of $385 and total expenses of $108, giving us a net overall profit of $276.10. So, we're hovering right along there at that balancing act of our funds coming in and out. Next month, you will see that we have canceled one of our bank accounts. We had 3 bank accounts. One of them, we closed the account and moved those funds into our operations account. So that we'll only have 2 bank accounts then, one for operations and one for storekeeper. So that simplifies the treasurer's duties slightly. And we will, again, use part of those funds for continued maintenance on the memorial and the floats and things like that.
And Caps for Kids.
And Caps for Kids.
So one of the reasons why we switched to Caps for Kids, canceled that one, pulled it out, was number one, they charged us for using the credit card. Number two, if we didn't maintain some activity in a 2-month period, they locked the account. And so every time that happened, Grant had to go down and deposit $5 into the account to reactivate the account. So we decided that we didn't need to screw with those people.
The other thing is we had designated that account as a Caps for Kids account, but it's not tax deductible. So if somebody gave us a donation to the Caps for Kids account, our Caps for Kids account, it was not a taxable deduction. If you want a taxable deduction, you have to send it to the USSVCF, the Charitable Foundation. That's the 501c3 organization. And so ours is a 501c19 military organization, which is what USSVI is. Okay? So it's, once you get that straight, then everything is cool. The bricks that we're doing is if you donate it to us here, it is a non-tax deductible donation to the base. If you want to make it a tax deductible donation, you send it to the USSVI, but you still have to send me the order form so I can keep track of what's happening on it. So that if you're looking for tax deductible, the dollars will be, or you can send it to me and write it out to the USSVCF, Rocky Mountain Memorial Fund. Specify that in the description, because then that will go into our memorial fund and that will grow and we can get that back out as needed. Okay, any questions about the month of June? In July, you'll see that correction coming in for those other accounts. So just to let you know, right now, we have $481 in our memorial fund at the USSVCF and $6,282 in our Caps for Kids account at the USSVCF.
Jennifer, you want to spend? Okay. Any questions? Okay, let's go into committee reports. Dan, you got something to talk about USSVCF?
The only thing I'll mention, let me turn this back around so it's facing away. Again, the Memorial Fund, we got the grant. People that donate to USSVCF through donations, just generally, those are what makes these grants available. And that's how we got the $3,000. It's not coming out of our fund. It's actually a grant that we're getting from that, so which helps a lot. So that's one of the good reasons to donate to USSVCF. That's all I have.
Okay, so I got a little story. Let me turn this on. I got a little story about, was that last night that guy called? It was last night, wasn't it? So I got this phone call last night, and it came from a guy named Brian Sanko. And he's a submarine veteran, and he's on LinkedIn. You guys know that I've been hammering people on LinkedIn to try to get some prospective members or some new members. And so for some reason it rang a bell for him. And he works for a company called Philip Morris International. And he's stationed in Castle Rock. So I might give him a plug to say that we have members from Castle Rock that he could carpool if he wanted to. Because I hit him up, I said, well, have you decided to join? He says, oh, well, you know how it always goes. So anyway, he says that their company allows every employee to be able to donate $2,500 to a charitable fund of their choosing. And he's going to pick the USSVCF for that purpose. So I sent him all the information this morning that he needed, and so he was going to submit all the paperwork, but then it gets approved by their company, and then I just told him to make sure that he names the Rocky Mountain base as the donees or donors or whatever. So There you go, beneficiary. So anyway, so that was kind of right out of the blue. So we took care of that. Tammy, you got anything that you want to add for storekeeper?
I do have coins here with you, so if you have to pick your coins up for me, and people, I do have sitting here with me today. That's it.
Okay. Okay, Patrick, I think you're doing a really good job on the Facebook. Every time I open mine up, I get something from us. So it's working out pretty good. Remember, if you have any kind of pictures that needs to go on, Jeff needs it for our newsletter, and Patrick needs it for our Facebook page and our website. Caps for kids, yay, we've already talked about that. Okay, bingo. We're going to have it August 20th on Wednesday at 10 o'clock at the State Veterans Home. How many people are going to come? Oh, all right. Myra, you guys are going to make it? Okay. Okay, good. We have lost Dennis and Barbara, and so we really need somebody else to come up and just try it out once, see if you like it. It's a lot of fun. The old people can be codgy and grumpy, but they enjoy the hell out of what we're doing. And so please, I recommend somebody else stepping up. We need a little bit more than 4 people. Okay, parades we already talked about. United Veterans Coalition, we had an executive board meeting and a legislative board meeting last week. They have a bunch of bills that they're trying to push through, but nothing has been finalized yet. So once I get a finalized list, I'll let people know what the UEC is trying to work towards. One of the biggest things they want is veterans courts. How many people here know about veterans courts? Veterans courts are if you have a veteran who is having issues with drugs, alcohol, PTSD, anything like that, and his offense is a minor offense, usually it's domestic violence and stuff like that, they can go to what's called the Veterans Court, but instead of charging them and throwing them in jail, they will give them community service. They'll have them send them to counseling areas, and it's a really good program that the state of Colorado is running. It needs to be expanded, and that's what one of the things the UEC is trying to work towards. Do you have something, Andy?
I was going to say it was started by a former commander of mine, a 2-star general who's a judge down in Colorado Springs. So it's a diversionary program. Instead of throwing them in jail, they agreed to get help and do community service, get on the straight and narrow.
And believe it or not, it saves the state a lot of money, but they just don't seem to get that through their thick heads a bit.
And sometimes you get them into the VA for
Yes, yes.
counseling.
It's a very good program. But they did say one thing, that the state of Colorado is going to be short $1 billion this year. So any additional stuff may be hard in getting. Okay, we talked about the memorial, we talked about the float. We don't have any social get-togethers coming up. Mr. JJ, anything for the Colorado?
I think you all know about, we had the meeting, the crew visit in May. Nothing really since then. They got a new chief of the boat here last month, trying to find out more about that. So really not too much other than that.
Okay, so they're going to be in for the next 2 years, right?
Well, 1 year's already gone by.
Oh, okay.
So probably next May they'll be getting out of the shipyard. I think they're supposed to get out of dry dock in the fall, but that's not confirmed. And of course, where they go after that is Still, the party line is back to Groton, but a lot of speculation with everything that's happened in the Pacific, may not be Groton.
Okay. Okay, Wreath Across America, Myra, we need to get something. What do we do for Dennis? He's not at Fort Logan, he doesn't have a grave site, so we can't really do the wreath.
And they're already ordered.
Yes, we're already ordered. Which, Julie, you need to remind me to order for our family here pretty soon. I keep forgetting about it. Okay, how many got the email about call to action about the walkway project that they wanted to build? How many of you got online and voted no? Yeah. Guess what? The governor and the government has backed down. They're not going to do it. So we have a plus in our side on that one.
I didn't get what the big opposition to that was. Cost, $400 million, was that what it was?
Was it that much? I thought it was like in the neighborhood of 40 million.
Plus,
But.
it was very disruptive.
Well, the biggest issue was the Freedom Memorial Park was designated many years ago for strictly veterans, remembrance, sacrifices, stuff like that. And this project was going to go right through the middle of the park. And that's what the American Legion had to issue with. Or not American Legion, VFWs were the ones that were heading it up. Okay, the good of the order. Remember, deadline for a newsletter is August 9th. I went ahead and put that up since we're towards the end of the month. We already talked about switching membership. Okay, our next meeting is going to be August 23rd. That's the fourth Saturday. And what do people want to eat? We did burritos, we've done meatloaf, we've done what? Steak. Yeah.
Tube steak.
So we've had, in the past, we had the barbecued hot dogs and brats with potato salad. I thought that was pretty good. I enjoyed that one. Somebody make a decision. Hot dogs and brats? Okay, we'll do hot dogs and brats, and that potato salad that they had last time was pretty good. I liked it.
Baked beans.
Oh, maybe some baked beans too.
What's the date?
The 23rd. Okay, I've got cards. I went back and picked them up. I had them in my hand. I walked around for a while. Does anybody see a little brown box about that big? Okay, I'll go get the other box. But we got new cards, so pick cards up, hand them out. Gary, I was noticing that, do you guys have a bulletin board? Because I was at your museum last week or 2 weeks ago. Do you guys have a bulletin board where we can post?
We have a kiosk, a rotating kiosk that cards and things fit in. I've already put some cards in, but I'll take more.
Oh, okay. So what I was thinking of is that flyer we have for looking for submarine veterans and. Okay, and then also when we get ready for our memorial, we'd like to post that there too.
I would like to mention now, on Veterans Day, November 11th, Paul is going to speak at the museum, at the Brookfield Veterans Museum, for our Veterans Day celebration. Unfortunately, I'm going to be in Hawaii.
Yes.
But I'll have a Hawaii time. You going to bring back more shirts? I had to order this one. I didn't go to Hawaii to get this one. I ordered. I got mine. Yeah.
Okay, so with all that being said, I will go get some cards at the end of the meeting and put it up here. Let's do the 50-50.
Can I ask one more thing?
Sure, Jack.
I tried to keep a list of all the events you got people going to, but I couldn't. I lost track.
I'll sit.
But I have one where you can attend and not get out of bed.
Huh? What's that?
Hey, Vietnam Veterans Meeting. First Saturday of every month, we do it on Zoom. So you can lay in bed, just don't turn the video on.
Yeah.
And you can hear everything we said for that meeting. So if you're interested in that, you can contact Paul and he'll
Send
let
that
me know.
that
Or
link
you
to
can
me.
use my email, which is my name with a dot in the middle. Jack Hutter at Comcast.net, and I'll send you the link, and you can just do it on Zoom. We like to have, Paul said there's a lot of Vietnam veterans here, and so we invite you all to at least join us and see if you like the meeting. If you do, fine. If you don't, well, you're still in bed, right? Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Okay, Larry.
Zero 29 625.
625.
That sucks.
Who's got it? Who's got it? Oh, all right.
Okay, so let's surface the boat. Well, just a second. Does anybody else have anything good of the order? Okay, let's surface the boat. Let us now leave this quiet and tranquil life that we know in the deep and return to reality of the surface world. Surface, surface, surface.
All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, as we end our meeting, we just thank you for the fellowship that was shared this evening, this afternoon, and also for our guest speaker and his willingness to share his story with us. I know I enjoyed it. I think everybody else did too. We just also would thank you for a successful meeting, for all the things that we got accomplished today, the things that we went over. I lift up our country to you, Lord, now, and our elected officials. We just ask that you would give them wisdom as they guide this country and help them to guide with integrity and thoughtfulness toward the people that they serve. And we also lift up all the men and women that are serving in the military, defending our country. We ask for successful missions for them and that you would bring them home safely. And Lord, I just ask you to bless this country and keep her safe. May God bless everybody here, and may God bless the United States of America. Amen.
Okay, meeting is adjourned.
I know I got